All right, well, I can't wait to hear.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March 3rd, 2026 Board of Education regular public meeting. I ask everyone to please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As a reminder, as part of our ongoing commitment to an inclusive community engagement, those joining virtually can now email questions and comments to SWR BOE Meeting at k12.newyork.us for inclusion during our second public comment period. Residents wishing to make comments or raise questions shall sign up with the district clerk and state their name, address, and topic. To allow for public participation, a period not to exceed 30 minutes shall be set aside for the first part of each board meeting for public comment on items relevant to the meeting's agenda. A second 30-minute time period will be set aside at the end of each board meeting for public comment on matters pertaining to the district, but not on the agenda. These periods may be extended by a majority vote of the public, of the board. Public discussion is prohibited on matters relating to staff and students in which their reputation, privacy, or rights to due process or the rights of others to due process could in some way be violated. All comments should be directed to the board president. The board president may choose to respond to these comments or refer them to the superintendent or other board members for reply or for consideration and later response. All comments should always be respectful, non-defamatory, and should maintain a level of decorum appropriate for a meeting of a public body. Thank you. First up tonight is our approval of our agenda. May I get a motion, please? First, Jim. Second, Mike. Any discussion or questions about the agenda? All in favor? 6-0. Next up tonight, we have our superintendent's report. Mr. Poole.
Who is Ray Hidaka this evening. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. For today in sports, 3 athletes attended the NISFISA State Wrestling Tournament on February 27th and 28th in Albany, New York. All athletes had a bye in the first round, and all 3 medaled. Freshman Andrew Dolson finished 6th, sophomore Thomas Matias finished 5th, and junior Gavin Mangano finished as champion of New York State Division 2. New York State Division 2. Gavin is a 3-time New York State champion. Congratulations to all. Gia Politi represented Shoreham-Wading River in Suffolk County on the bars at the NISFISA State Gymnastics Tournament in Utica, New York. Leighton Mandrameli placed 3rd in the state track and field qualifier, which earned him his 2nd spot on the state team for Section 11. Lane will be competing in the NISFISA State Meet on March 7th and 8th in Staten Island. Best of luck. The boys basketball made it to the quarterfinals last week, and the girls basketball team has advanced to the Section 11 Class A Championship versus Mount Sinai on Friday, March 6th, 3 p.m. at Stony Brook University. Good luck to this talented team. And also, spring sports at the high school begin on Monday, March 9th, and on March 30th at the middle school. For the high school report, make your plans now to come out and see Grease, this spring's musical production at the high school. The show will run March 19th, 20th, and 21st with a 7 p.m. start time in the auditorium. Make sure you mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this event. A huge thank you to the high school staff, students, and families that volunteered their time this past Thursday night for the Lax Out Cancer event. This is an amazing night for our community. Congrats to Wading River for taking home the coveted Cat Cup. And 3 of our high school students, Thomas Corso, Ella Frazzetto, and Anthony Mango, represented our district at the annual in-person Long Island Regional Student Forum on February 27th, hosted by BOCES. The event brought together high school students from across Long Island to engage in meaningful dialogue on important topics impacting the everyday lives of students while at school. Thomas, Ella, and Anthony actively participated in discussions focused on mental health, school environment, and culture, and academic stressors, sharing their perspectives and collaborating with peers from neighboring districts. The student-teacher badminton tournament will take place this Thursday from 2:10 to 4 p.m. And 3rd quarter progress reports will be available in the student portal on March 13th. And SCMEA begins this weekend. Good luck to all participating students. And the robotics team will be competing at the state VEX V5 robotics competition. Good luck. And that's all of it.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Ray. All right, on to the middle school. So all of our buildings had a great team at Lax Out Cancer on Thursday. Congratulations to the organizer, for raising funds for families in our communities that are dealing with cancer. But a great turnout, a lot of community support, cheer, and each of the buildings had a team. And yes, Wading River did win. I was at Wading River today, and Mr. Paranello was actually there with a little chamois, and he was polishing the.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I hope he's listening right now. Shining up the trophy, but a great night as well, and another great fundraiser. The Wildcat Athletic Club had their casino night on Friday, and what a lot of work. And I know their proceeds support our athletic teams and support a lot of student scholarships at the end of the year. So thank you to the Wildcat Athletic Club. As well. Over at the middle school, coming up in celebration of Foreign Language Week, the middle school is going to welcome Solier Sombra, a Spanish dance company, on March 4th, who will present 2 lively and engaging performances for our 7th and 8th grade students. And in addition to showcasing traditional Spanish dance, the students will be able to join them on stage to learn a few Spanish dance moves. So some great event, gives students a chance to experience Spanish culture through music, movement, and tradition. Over at Wading River, congratulations to 3rd grader Thomas Sudman and 4th grader Rowan Santiago for winning the U10 Long Island Hockey League Championships as part of the Peconic Wildcat team. First ever the team has won, so those students were featured on Channel 12 News. All of our students at Wading River, and when they complete the rollerblading unit, will be heading over to the Peconic Ice Rink for a session of ice skating.
Nice.
So they close that unit out, have a chance to ice skate. I went last year. It's amazing that kids never ice skated before. They rollerblade, and in 2 minutes they're ice skating around.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you to the Wading River PTA, who, along with some cultural arts funding in the school district, the mosaic the board approved a couple of weeks back is beautiful. It's in the quad near the library, so I know if a chance to stop by to see that. But I know Mr. Paranello will have an official ribbon cutting ceremony when the weather gets a little bit nicer. And over at the Wading River, the PTA book fair is happening all week. Saw it this morning. Big book fair, lots of great stuff. Help encourage and promote lifelong reading for students. Over at Miller Avenue, last night was MoMA, which was a wonderful event. Excuse me, I'm a little under the weather. I'm fighting something. Each student completed a self-portrait for display under the direction of art teacher Daria Brown. 2nd grade classes will be visiting the Brookhaven National Lab next week, and later in the month they will visit the Long Island Museum for a first-hand experience of what school was like in the 1800s. And the world-famous Whittle Gym unit is beginning at Miller Avenue in the next week. Just a few other notes. Senior Ray Tang's research project, and Ray was here earlier in the school year sharing his research, entitled Kinematic Synthesis of Planar Leg Mechanisms Through Large-Scale Dataset Generation, Geometric Filtering, and Optimization, has been published in a peer-reviewed mechanical engineering journal. So he got published. He's in a peer-reviewed engineering journal, so congratulations to Ray. The paper appears in the special issue of Recent Developments in Machine Design, Automation, and Robotics, 2nd edition. So congratulations to Ray on that achievement. We're very proud of him. The AI committee had its 2nd session last week with a great group of community stakeholders. We had some great conversations around what are several broad goals for the district to pursue in AI moving into the future, and they kind of centered them under the headings of prepare, protect, and prosper. And I do have a slide in the strategic plan presentation to share those with you later on this evening. I also want to give a shout out to our food service director, Sarah Polino. So we did have a very rigorous food service audit from Albany, from the state. It was a desk audit where lots of submissions, and then they came on site. I had a chance to sit in on the exit meeting, and the auditor, no findings. A couple of tips or recommendations, but no findings on the audit. So we're running a model program. We couldn't believe how well it was running for the first year. Made the comment that the food doesn't even look like national school lunch program food. Was very impressed with the presentation of that, and was going to recommend the program to be featured in the statewide newsletter on model school lunch programs along the way. So I want to give a thank you to Sarah and the entire food service worker team who put their heart and soul into making sure that the meals are the best that they could put forward for students along the way. So I wanted to share that. Tonight we have our first of a series of budget presentations. Those will move right on through until the budget vote. The budget is the result of a months-long collaborative development process, one that began last fall, with line-by-line encumbrance reviews, right to line-by-line draft budget reviews, and multiple cabinet-level refinements, really guided by our strategic and capital plans. Importantly, staff closest to students always have a voice in our process through their building and department leaders. So the proposed budget reflects a 0.8% expenditure increase with a 2.84% tax levy. It does maintain our programs. There are some strategic saving reductions related to retirement and attrition, and it reduces our reliance on fund balance by 22%. We want to note, as was shared publicly earlier in the year, as we all know, recurring revenues are not keeping pace with recurring costs. The one-time reserves we've used, the bridge gaps are finite. State aid growth is minimal, with inflation and contractual increases. But this is a strong, structurally sound budget, given all of that. But moving forward into the future years, we're certainly going to have some conversations, and there's challenges ahead. But this is an excellent budget. Very proud of it, and I want to thank Mr. Arcuri, as always, for his exceptional leadership. Mrs. Reed, the entire cabinet. At the business office behind the scenes, crunching numbers and making projections, and our building level administrative team and directors for working with our staff to make sure we identified what are the needs for next year to maintain a great program. So an excellent budget, and look forward to Mr. Arcuri's presentation. And I will give an update on the strategic plan tonight as well.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Poole.
All right.
Appreciate that. Any opportunity for board members? Anyone want to share anything? Okay. Mr. Hayward, any statements from residents?
No, they're not.
Okay, thank you. We'll move right along. We're going to jump to our reports and reviews. As Mr. Poole mentioned, he's going to give us a strategic plan update. So I'd like to invite Mr. Poole up to the mic, the other mic. Thank you, Mr. Poole.
All right, thank you. I feel like I haven't been up here in a while. All right, so strategic plan update. This is an update on our 2024 through 2029 strategic plan. You may recall we had about 13 different metrics, which is a lot for a strategic plan, but as we went through the committee meetings, everybody felt that they were important to keep an eye on those particular things. And reflecting back to those meetings, what came through in those meetings was this sense of, hey, we have a lot of great programs here. We do understand there's fiscal challenges coming ahead for us in all school districts. We want a plan that maintains all of the exceptional things that we have here in Shoreham-Wading River School District. So a lot of the metrics speak to that, to keep track and measure what's already in place and make sure that they continue as programs for our students. And if you're watching at home, this will be presented and published to the website. That's the link below to the full strategic plan. And the strategic plan, yes, it's pillars, it's actions, it's goals, it's data, but all of it's lined up to what's happening in those pictures there. The experiences that our students are having and the success that they're having. Just briefly, the purpose of the metrics, they really are the compass for the plan. They keep us focused. They are often aspirational goals. Some of them are 100%, some of them are 90%. We want to get there, but it's good to have a high bar to reach, and metrics allow us to track our progress over time. Are we maintaining our programs? They allow us to shift a little bit, make different goals, make different plans in order to find other ways to meet goals if we haven't met them successfully to date. And a chance to celebrate successes. We don't only measure the district's success with those metric goals. I think there are so many other outstanding achievements that we do keep track of how we're doing as a school district, so I want to throw those up there. I know we've seen those before, but these 13 metrics are not, of course, the end-all be-all for the school district. Just a little bit about today's survey data, and jump in anytime if anybody has a question. Survey data was used for many of the metrics, so some of the survey data is qualitative, some of it's quantitative. The participation from students was pretty strong because we, upon the advice of last year's ex officio students, it was, hey, Mr. Poole, if you want students to take the survey, do it during the school day. And so we did, and we got a good student response. We had a great response from teachers. 158 is over 75% of staff took the survey, and not such a great response from families, despite my kind of best efforts. Hey, take the survey, take the survey. Nonetheless, I left the responses in there where they fit in the metrics, but we should take a little bit of a grain of salt that we've captured less than 5% of the parents in the school district.
Mr. Poole, just anecdotally, do you think that's just because families believe we're doing a good job? What do you think that, just the 95 you got? Well, I know you're going to go through it, but just curious what your own interpretation would be.
Yeah, I spoke to parents about that. I think it was almost as if the timing of when I asked, it was important. The timing of it was. So I know one year we had the survey out during parent-teacher conferences at the elementary. So parents were waiting. They saw the QR code. And I forget what the survey topic was. It may have been gathering information for strategic planning, and then they took the survey then. So I think it's a little bit of his timing.
Okay.
We tried to tailor it for different groups so that one person didn't get a massive list of questions along the way. So I think before we go back out for those kind of surveys with families, again, I'll meet with PTA, PTO, and see if I can't get some better ideas how to get a little more.
I'd be interested.
Maybe a take the survey, get a homework pass.
Right.
That as a parent, you can use whenever you want with your kid on one of those nights. So maybe some carrot that goes along with it. So we'll see. Or it could just be, I'll be optimistic. Could just be everybody's like, wow, I'm not taking the survey. Everything's perfect.
I was going to say, or it's a
Could be.
meeting with Mr. Poole, one-on-one with Mr. Poole. There you go.
Could be. So the survey does include neutral responses in it. So
Okay.
I did leave them in there as opposed to just using the statements of somebody who took a position, positive or negative. But a neutral statement is not necessarily a negative. I think it means that we might have some more outreach to do. People might not fully understand the program that's available, so didn't feel comfortable making a statement, or it could have been a parent at the middle school thinking about the high school and not really knowing what the support services were or what the enrichment activities were. So some of the neutral responses were higher, 20%, not really sure what to answer along the way. So, but that to me is a message that we have some more outreach to do so people are aware so they can make a decision about whether they think it's great or not so great, or we have some room to grow on that. Just a few sample highlights from our year one action plan. So all the pillars each year, the curriculum council, cabinet, principals, administration, staff, special education office, health office come up with some goals to support the 5 pillars of the strategic plan. There were 70 in year one. I'm not going through all of them with you this evening, but I pulled a few highlights out. Great work in the literacy program K through 5 last year, an objective third-party review, professional development, and then compiling what it is that we do that's effective in reading instruction. Great work in MTSS. And thank our directors, principals, Tracy Von Eschen, for leading that work. Continued work in artificial intelligence, the new digital literacy course that's running, that ran last year and this year, and the financial literacy course that's running this year. Multiple facility improvements. The Student Digital Portfolios Committee developed a great plan last year, which is in place this year for the first time. Curriculum updates. The appendix to the high school course book that rearranges the electives and courses as career pathways, along with the electives, a new website. So just a sample of some of the steps the district took to meet the pillars of the strategic plan. And I'm going to get a little bit more granular with the data. So this is just a slide that has some of the highlights, special education, post-secondary outcomes, advanced Regents diplomas, students taking a pathway or completing 2 college courses, the data for chronic absenteeism. I'm not going to read it all because I'm going to come back to it. The fact that the majority of our staff feel safe in our buildings, iReady Math, teachers believing our academic programs have rigor, awareness of mental health, and students understanding and feeling comfortable helping each other with mental health needs. So just a few of the data highlights. All right, so on to pillar one. So all the metrics are organized under one of the 5 pillars. This one is on maintaining whole child programming. I just love that picture. That's the middle school, and it is middle school students who think a little bit more, can think a little bit more abstractly. However, they're using a very concrete method to think abstractly. So I love it. That's really thinking about the whole child. What do students need to master something? So, and by the way, it's fun too, right? With the hula hoop and the and cars, and you're outside. So love the photo. So it all starts with attendance. You know, coming out of COVID, attendance definitely took a dip here in the school district, in the nation, in the state, and you know, the very first thing for students to be successful is for them to be here. So we set a goal of maintaining a minimum 94% attendance rate, and in 24-25, that rate was 94.2%. So we met the goal. Just a little note on chronic absenteeism, which is an accountability measure for New York State. You may see it in the paper every now and then about student absenteeism, that it's an epidemic in schools. District-wide, our number was 8.4%, and that chronic absenteeism is 18 days or more that you're out of school, whether it's health-related or you went on a vacation. It doesn't matter what the reason is. If you're out 18 days per the state, it's chronic absenteeism. Could be a valid reason, excused, but it still counts as a student that's chronically absent. So our chronic absenteeism was just over 8%, and the New York State rate is at 30%. So very proud of that number. You can see at Miller Avenue, it's a little bit lower than the middle school and the high school. And one of the key findings, and this is something that our administrative team keeps a very close eye on, and thank Mr. Meinster for working with them on that, is that, you know, we noticed in the data over time that economically disadvantaged students always have a gap in performance with our other students. So we wanted to make sure, again, step one was that they were able to come to school and we could help them overcome hurdles. So I know our principals get that information about their attendance and reach out with the social worker or nurse to make sure that those students are in school as often as possible. And that number fell to even below the general student population absenteeism rate at 7%. So, and a lot to do with getting a bi-monthly report about what are those students' attendance to all administration to take a look at and see how we can help to keep them in school.
Mr. Poole, do you think at the high school level, is there any correlation you believe to being a senior and just having senioritis? I'm just curious, when I look at the numbers, right, that's by building, Miller Avenue under 5, Wading River under 5, starts jumping up in middle, and then obviously high school being the peak. Is there anything to that theory that I have, or is it just, you know, is more of a theory, the 11%? Is that the outlier?
I'm not, Mr. Meinster, do you have any can
No, I
you
mean, is
fill
it
in the
senioritis
gaps a
that
little bit?
just
I
kicks in?
know,
'Cause to hit 60, was it 16 to 8, you said, Mr. Poole?
18.
18,
Yeah,
excuse me,
so,
18
so
days.
there are a couple of factors that actually tie into that. One of them is that many of our seniors and also in our junior year, they do college visits. Quite often those take place during when school is in session, because that's when the colleges have the, offer
Yes.
their orientation. So those days, again, as Mr. Poole said, even if it may be an excused absence, it doesn't matter. Toward chronic absenteeism, any day that a student misses is a day that counts toward that. So that is certainly a factor for our upperclassmen. And so that definitely is a factor that influences the high school's number. But we are constantly working together as a administrative team with our PPS staff to really closely monitor those students and to support them. And again, the one piece that doesn't include, that's where the 94.2% for daily attendance comes in, is the fact that our students are here, because that's the 94.2 reflects that they're actually here,
Yep.
whether they are excused or unexcused absences, those count. They're making up the work, they're getting things done, so. But yeah, there definitely is a piece of that 11.5% that is tied to seniors and juniors missing days for legitimate, also athletic competitions and other factors like that.
Okay.
Still in the category of the whole child, making sure that our K through 5 students are successful as a foundation for moving forward. So the metric is by 2029, a minimum of 85% of students will be proficient in both math and English language arts, and we track that in two categories. By the way, when I'm sharing this instructional outcome data, all of this is the same that Mr. Meinzer presented in October, November. So we've seen this before, but it is part of the plan, so it's incorporated in here as well. So we see some growth in math and iReady year over year, kind of held steady in reading in the iReady scores. It is worth noting that by the time students get to Wading River, those numbers do tick up. They've moved through the grades. Students that needed interventions are more successful, and the percentages of students at the 25th percentile or higher are higher. And this is inclusive. Both numbers are inclusive of all students, special education, general education, English language learner students collectively. Going down to the state exams, we are still at about or 30% or so participation K through 8. So again, it's not capturing the entire spectrum of students in the school district, but it's a pretty good sample size for the school district. For information and details on action planning, again, it's in Mr. Meister's student performance summary for the school district.
So, Mr. Poole, it looks like obviously between the baseline, we have some challenges in math, right, at the K-5 level to get to 85?
Well, let's see. On iReady in 23-24, K2 at 65%,
Yep.
and that grew to 69% year over
So
year.
it's going in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah, heading in the right direction. In math at Wading River from 79% to 88%. So that's definitely heading in the right direction as well. For reading, it kind of held firm, but we did a deep dive last year, as I mentioned earlier, in the science of reading as a school district. So some of that work, professional development ongoing, looking forward to leveraging that to continue to grow to meet the goal of 85% proficiency.
You know, Jerry, when you came up with these, or kind of a strategic plan oriented at 85, with iReady, with that application, does it give you a measurement of success? Is that how? What would they say? What would iReady say versus, what I mean?
Normed against the region for
Yeah,
students
that's
as a
what I'm
20.
just trying to think, like, how do we?
We'd be faring very, very, very well as a school district for
Okay.
students at or above the 25th percentile.
Okay,
Yes.
appreciate that, okay.
Yep.
Just don't know how to sometimes measure that, right, Jerry? 85, what do you think of, you know what I mean? That's all.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is a screener, but really more importantly, it's a tool for what does a student need next in their instruction. So it does serve as since we have low participation 3 through 8 in state exams,
Yes,
we don't have if 90% of students were taking the grade 3 through 8 exams, or 95%, you might think maybe if you wanted the screener as the benchmark, you might not use iReady as the benchmark, but it's used regularly as well for a tool for growth, for MTSS, for RTI as well. So,
okay, thank you.
welcome. Again, under the whole child awareness of mental health resources, this was a survey given to grades 7 through 12 students, so we had pretty good participation and really very positive. Just about 80% of students know how to connect with a school mental health professional. The majority of students are comfortable seeking mental health support for a friend if they believe that a friend needed it. So the survey questions went a little bit deeper than just the one question, just because if you want to make it actionable, we need a little bit more information from the students. For that. So some work to do. I mean, that's probably not necessarily too odd that the neutral response for I feel comfortable seeking counseling is 25%, because maybe they haven't had to seek counseling and don't know if they would seek it or not at that point. So it is good to look at the negative numbers to sort of balance out the positive, to say that for most of those categories, below 10% of students don't know the answer, but still some work to do. We should get to 100%. Every student should know where to get help and what the help is as a school district. So, and I'll maybe it's the next slide.
Jerry,
No.
just real quick.
Yeah.
What type of outreach does the North Shore Youth Council provide districts and to the students in district?
That typically functions almost as an EAP program, an employee assistant. It's almost a student assistant program for the school district, where if a family's having trouble getting counseling services, that they refer to the North Shore Youth Council by our mental health staff. If we need additional support from North Shore Youth Council, we will reach out and they will provide the counselors during the day. Heaven forbid there's something traumatic that happens as well. And they do their own advertising locally to the community. But it's been a little bit since I've gotten some data on how many they're servicing. So I'm definitely glad for the question, because I haven't asked this year about how many students are they servicing, because they are on campus, and what are some challenges or highlights from their program this year. So I'll definitely get back to you on that.
Can I ask you a question? The middle school, is that 6 through 8? That students surveyed, the 353 at the bottom?
7 through 12. We went 7 through 12.
Oh, sorry.
So,
Okay.
yeah, yes.
Got it. Thanks.
I know those are very tiny. Somebody at home will certainly can get to the presentation and I read those. And again, we went a little further asking students questions because we wanted to make it actionable. So when we gave the survey and when we talked about this in strategic planning, we talked a lot about having that goal, and we wanted to have it, and it really was less about the number for us or the public. It really was to share that data with the faculty at the start of the school year to say, hey, here's what students are saying about what they're experiencing in classrooms, and if you look at this data, what does that prompt you to do more of or do less of as a classroom teacher? So the goal is a minimum of 80% of secondary students will report that they are engaged by instruction through various methods. We are at an average of 60% with some variance as to what the responses were for students from a host of smaller questions, such as, I have choices in how I complete my work, I have opportunities to work with my classmates, there are interactive activities, I have a chance to explore topics on my own and ask questions, I have a chance to be creative in my class, and the topics, the last one, I study in class connect to real world situations or problems. By the way, that last one, where 41% of students gave a positive rating on that one, that last one prompted the Wildcat Tracks program for this year, where we can do some outreach and bring in professionals into the school district. So we followed that up because we had a lot of questions with students after that. And myself and the principals met with a high school student group and a middle school student group. The kids are so smart, so fluent. They know what they want. They know what works. They had just great advice. I was happy to hear from them and listen to them. But some of their key student insights, which kind of overlap between both buildings, which we did share with faculty at the start of the school year, some of the student data and what the students were suggesting. Students enjoy a variety and a variety in lesson structure with different chunks rather than a single approach to teaching. It's funny, they're smart. They understand a single approach. They highly value direct, explicit modeling in their instruction, and they understand that on some days, it needs to be this, and it could be consecutive days, but they did want some variety in what they were experiencing as students in classrooms. Even students in difficult, challenging AP courses, they appreciate the connections between classroom learning and real-world learning. They certainly let us know that even a nod towards, hey, when you're learning this professional might use it, 20 seconds, and I remember them saying this, we're more engaged if just a tiny connection to the real world makes me, if I don't want to do it, makes me want to do it a little bit more or pay more attention to it. So study skills, the use of educational videos strategically and their placement in Google Classrooms. And this year, this was really their recommendation, because last year they recommended, this was from a student to us saying, hey, why don't you have the mental health professionals come in at home base, the social workers, the psychologists? We know our counselors well, but what about having the social worker and psychologists come to home base? And they did, per what the students offered to us along the way. So those student focus groups were about academics and instructional engagement. We also took time to ask them about the mental health resources, and do they know about them? Are they aware? Would they use them along the way? So great conversation with them. And again, this was all shared with the secondary faculty at the start of the school year to prompt them and get them thinking about what might they do more of to engage students in teaching and learning that they're asking for. Again, under the whole child engagement and after-school programming, that's pretty impressive. So if you look at theater, academics, athletics, at the high school, 91% of students are involved in at least one extracurricular activity. And that was something important to the strategic planning committee, that we maintain those extracurricular activities for the whole child. And a way to measure that is student participation. So if we have good participation, that means we have a good set of after-school options for students. A little bit less at the middle school. There's a little less opportunity at the middle school, but some opportunity for a reflection. Maybe how can more students get enrolled? I know the clubs are not overwhelmed with attendance at the middle school. So what are the obstacles in the students' way? Is it a year-long commitment to athletics outside of the school district that maybe you don't have the time, or, just it's some further work to do?
Do you think there's an opportunity to revisit, maybe midway through the plan, some metrics based on information that we've gathered in the first kind of half of the plan?
I think so.
And think, if we're killing it on participation, maybe there's even more, 50% or more attendance in an extracurricular club or something like that. I'm just thinking
Or
about
two or more.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, I know. I agree. I think so. It is absolutely a living document. This is our compass, but there's certainly I can think I put the AI slide in there later on, because in 2023 we really weren't, as a strategic planning committee, discussing artificial intelligence, but the goals that group came up with, should we readopt the plan, consider some of the metrics, and put those broad AI goals into the strategic plan to give them the weight that maybe they need as being a part of that plan for the school district. So I think you're right, and there's definitely a chance to revisit. We shouldn't be stuck in the mud with something from 2 years ago, even though it's great. It's got great metrics, great things, but it's 2 years ago, so we should be refreshing. Access for all learners. You almost can see a theme here of sort of maintenance. We want to make sure that the enrichment opportunities and the support services remain inside of the school district. So this is I have a little bit of a deeper dive on the next slide. This is the percentages that believe that there's access for advanced academic and enrichment opportunities for students at the secondary level and across the district for academic support. So again, if you look at the neutral category, it's really high. Is that because people don't know, or they answered for in a particular grade that they weren't aware of the other grade? So it says to me that there may be some additional outreach work to do, because the negatives are fairly low, relatively speaking. So the work here is maybe to inform staff and the community, the students, more about what's available for students. So I do have a little bit of a.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the deeper dive, because it's
Okay,
the
yeah,
same
let's do that.
information,
I'm
but
just
it's a
gonna
little
ask
bit,
you that.
it's a little bit deeper. So you can see, if you go over to the right, you'll see academic support services, and that is you can see it by group: students, teachers, and families. And then the next question: sufficient enrichment opportunities, again broken out by the 3 groups that took the survey. Again, families was 95. Parents that took it. So it's hard to sort of gauge, the value of 95 of 20. When I do a robocall, I think it's 2,700 recipients that could have taken the survey. So, one thing to note is when you look at secondary students' use of extra help, you will see there's a correlation between access to extra help for students, right, and student participation. There's more access to seeing your individual teacher at the middle school than there is at the high school. And maybe the reason why students access extra help a little more widely available.
Joe, maybe-
I'd also just add that to your question earlier, when you have such low response rates, typically people fill out a survey because they're angry about something.
Yes.
But this is like a pleasantly surprising result, given only 95 families filled out the survey, so.
So it's funny you say that, Jim, because I was going to tag on to what you just said. Jerry, I'd be curious about going back to the slide prior, and then obviously the detail behind it. With the advanced courses came back with positive, neutral, and the negative, but it's grades 7 through 12. I'd be curious if you break out the cohorts, 7 and 8 versus 9 through 12, to see what results you get. to see, because look, at the middle school, most of it's prescriptive, right? What kids have to take versus being advanced, quote unquote. Would they even know? You know what I mean? So it's a
Right
little more prescriptive.
at the middle school, advanced courses is either going to be, I'm advanced in Algebra 1, or I'm advanced in Earth Science. That's really the advancement. So somebody could look at that and say, oh, well, that's just two courses that are, and what's the definition of advancement?
That's where my head was at.
And maybe maybe my survey questions need a little tuning.
No, not
I'm
necessarily.
happy to
Well,
admit that.
listen, we
but,
always like to fine tune things here. We
yeah,
always-
no, of
right?
course,
But
of
I think
course.
Jim brought up something interesting, is that, kind of at what point will you want to do another check-in? You do a mid-check or update the survey. This would be interesting, going with the curriculum work, the recent presentation that was offered, where we even had the high school students opine on what's considered advanced, right? All the AP courses and whatnot. Do kids really recognize those as just being standard, typical courses, or do they really recognize that those are advanced courses being offered? So
Right, is honors advanced? Is
That's what I'm asking.
Is a concurrent dual college course
That's what I'm
advanced?
saying.
Is
So
it
what do
just
we really-
APs that are advanced? What is advanced? So maybe
So
define.
the neutral
define-
response may be that they don't even know.
That could be.
So I'm just giving you for instance, back to the
that
low
could- that
response
could-
rates and whatnot, but
I think they know just because of the weighted,
you think? Okay.
the weighted portion is, yeah.
So is that how we
Good
define
point.
it, is weighted,
I mean,
weighted
that's how
considered advanced, Jerry?
It's
That's a good
impactful for
question.
them.
Could be, because it is more work and it's more rigor, and typically students,
Well, it says
that is an advanced.
I'm an idiot. It says right there, AP honors dual enrollment. It says it right on top of the benchmark there, Jerry, so.
Yes,
It's just a
yes.
thought. I was just thinking if you carve out 7 and 8 versus 9 through 12, you'd be curious, that's all.
Yeah, we could
That'd
we could definitely,
be- You could slice and dice numbers 100 different ways,
yes,
but
and the
I'm
only
just-
thing we're doing on the survey form is asking students to identify their grade, and then we
Yep.
can sort that way. So good point for
Just a thought.
moving forward as we survey students, again.
Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah. All right. Well, to Jim's point, I threw the slide in here, a strategic plan as a living document, and, we had this conversation a few weeks back. Should we, as part of the strategic planning goal, consider adding a goal to develop strategies by working collaboratively with our instructional staff to decrease the instructional use of Chromebooks overall in grades 1 through 5. I left K out because K they're not along the way, but it would be an intricate process to sort of to pull back. It would have to be a collaborative one for us to do. But that would be one where that would become an actionable item under the pillar of the whole child to pull back from that. And it was interesting, the conversation started in district, really sort of through the budget process. Hey, we really have to spend all the money to maintain all these Chromebooks. And we asked the principals to take the conversation back to the buildings, and that sort of spurred the same conversation the board had a few weeks back
Yeah.
about what are we doing? This was
That's right.
COVID. Is it what's the most effective use, when, where? So that's a chance when we regroup to add that into the document as a goal moving forward.
I think that's a fantastic item, Jerry.
Something
What do you
curriculum
see
council
going,
could
so
take.
you see this as just being a curriculum goal at this point, or? is
Yeah,
it
we
just
would add it
asking
as
the
we
question?
could add it as a year 2, as an action goal for this year. And then when we do have a chance to review the strategic
Yep.
plan as a whole, incorporate it as a more firmer bullet under the pillar. And maybe it's phrased differently than 1 through 5. Maybe it's a different,
1 through 12, 1 through
yeah, maybe it's,
12.
yeah, maybe it's something, more than 1 through 5. Or it's a broader statement about, yeah, or a broader statement about just instructional technology in general.
That's actually good,
in
'cause
learning
look,
as
with the-
opposed to that. But we could, this is a good place to start.
It is.
As a school district to take a look at what are we doing, when and where. I know our teachers work very hard on tastefully integrating technology into
Yes.
learning. But it's a different lens to think about, so it's definitely a living document, something we can tweak, change, and add.
Before we as a board give any more thought to that, do you mind offering some of the feedback that the principals received in that sort of meeting? What our teachers were thinking?
Yeah, I think that the general feedback was there was an openness to taking a look at it and shifting the approach and shifting the directions. Because the first question was, do we need one-to-one? Does everybody need a one-to-one Chromebook model? So, and do they have to go home in grades 3 through 5? So I know in some of the grades, there's already a sense that, maybe they don't need to go home. We can leave them in school along the way, but we want to carefully do that, because I know there's parent resources in there as well. I know the Eureka Math, the parent stuff is easily accessed through the student. So,
Yeah.
but you can get onto the Google Classroom on any device. So some careful consideration, but a very openness to thinking about it and moving forward. All right, I'm on to the next pillar. Not all of them have as many metrics on there. Enhanced graduation outcomes. That's a photo from this year. 43 high school students were AP scholars, so a tremendous number for a school of 600 or so. College and career readiness. So this was a strategic planning goal designed to just keep track of students earning, participating in college level, whether it's AP or dual enrollment courses, or students completing a career technical education pathway in the school district. The goal 90% is aspirational for sure, but that's okay. It's good to have the higher your bar is, the higher you get, right?
Right.
So
No, you're
it's
right.
good to have a high bar on there. So those numbers inched up incrementally from 62% to 64%, with 2 or more college classes on a transcript, and completing a career technical education pathway. Students can do that one of 2 ways. One is by going to the BOCES program and taking the certification exam and getting that certificate. We have about 35 to 45 students that go every year along the way, and I guess that probably works out to about 20 students of the 170 kids in a cohort, so that might be somewhere around 8%. So the kids that are going are getting the credential. The other is kind of exciting. I asked Dr. Palicelli, a couple of years back, we created a business pathway with a business CTE credential, and he has somewhere, Alan, 6 to 8 kids right now on track to get an in-district business career tech ed certification to the program that he established. It got approved by New York State a few years back. Students are in it, so that's a great pathway for students to get credentialed in business. And then I have another question on the bottom, because this is a living document, and it's a good question to consider, because the state does have programs and grants. The one that I can think of is called the P-TECH grant, where it's a partnership between the school, industry, and a college, and at the end of high school, you have completed an associate's degree.
Wow.
And then they're on to the college to complete their bachelor's degree within 2 years. So that's pretty aspirational as well. We'd have to do a lot of planning and thinking. I did send an email to a college. I did not get an answer 3 weeks ago, so I'll have to follow up. But with the rising cost of tuition, we know there's a cap on federal borrowing
Yes.
right now. Should the district set a goal to develop a partnership with a college for students to leave high school with an associate's degree? And I have there's no question in my mind that there are a large number of students that could get that, could achieve that and still have a life. Right, still be able to be a kid in high school. I think there's a way to, some students are already leaving with 24 to 36 credits. Is the college taking all of them? I don't know. But if they're left with an associate's degree from SUNY, the college has to take the whole package. It's an associate's degree. They're going to accept it or not accept the degree along the way. So something to think about moving
I
forward.
think it's a great thought-leading question, Jerry, and I'm sure that the community parents, right, this is something that's affecting everyone, right? The cap on borrowing, so it's going to potentially force
Yes, yes.
different
And if so many of our
decisions.
courses, I know we had to move on from Suffolk a little bit because of the changes in requirements from maybe our last meeting or 2 meetings ago, that in order to teach in the SUNY program, you needed to have a master's in that field, which was a new qualification. So, but a partnership along the way, so something we should definitely explore as a school district. We talked a little bit about this one as well when we talked about changes to the high school course catalog, engagement in courses. And this one, again, it's another theme of maintaining what we have. I remember the committee talking like, well, how are we going to maintain all these electives? Well, we gotta make sure kids are taking electives, work with the families and the kids to make sure that they're taking a minimum number of courses. And by doing that, that props up the other elective courses in the high school. So we're doing pretty well. And again, it's a nice aspirational goal of 100%, and that's okay. If you look at grade 9 and 10, pretty high numbers, high 90s, that students have met the goal of taking 7 periods of instruction per year in grades 9 through 11. So it's a 9-period day. If they're taking 7 periods, that means they have an open period and lunch, but for the rest of the day, they are enrolled in courses in a 9-period day. And then, as we talked a few weeks back, at the senior level, and that could be, as we discussed, that the student's taking 5 AP courses, and they need the rest of the day to get all the work done. So didn't dig too deeply more into that, but those are the numbers. You know, I know some of the ways is family outreach, it's elective fairs for students to understand what the electives are. There's an elective video that was put out by the high school, working with the school counselors to push students to fill up their course catalog, so they make the most of what the high school has to offer.
So, Mr. Poole, just to confirm the data, in grade 12, what this is saying to us is in 2024-25, 61% of students were enrolled in 6 courses. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yeah.
So only 61% are in 6.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you see the average course load is 6.3.
3.
That means that a lot of kids on the high end are carrying a load. Like some are taking 9, right? So they're skewing the data up a little bit. I didn't do the work to take out the outliers. You know, you could take the outliers out and maybe get a different number.
Sure.
So they are 61% of students taking 6 out of 9. I think some of our ex officio students said they might be taking 5 AP courses. So if you're taking 5 AP, so hey, 5 APs equals 8 electives, right? So it's
Right.
so they have a full load, maybe just taking the 5 APs.
Can I ask, how do we add the 8% with the career tech ed pathway into that data? So in other words, for the students that are 35 or so, you said, for those students, is it that they're taking an 8, do we consider that an 8-period day?
They're getting period credit, Alan. That's correct. So when you go to BOCES, you're going to get depending what the course is, you might get ELA credit, math credit, but also be in the certification program. So they would get credited for the course.
Right.
The course would count. So some
So
of the
oh, maybe it's 7 courses, because they have the transportation time?
they would lose a period if you're in BOCES.
Yeah.
So those 20 students, which is about 8% of the kids as seniors,
Mm-hmm.
would definitely now have only a opportunity to fill 7. Yes.
7, okay.
To fill 7. So. All right. Advanced Regents Diploma, and that is students that are proficient at 3 science, 2 math, English, and the 2 social studies Regents exams. So if you take all those and are proficient, measuring this is a way to make sure you have the right pathways that students can get to all those Regents exams and that they do well on them. And this might be another one where this one was set at 70% because I think the district's been there. And again, this was a maintenance goal from the planning committee. Hey, we want to make sure we stay at that high level and push students into those more challenging science and math courses. Mastery of Regents exams. I know Mr. Meinster, Ms. Walbauer, and Dr. Palicelli spent some time in the fall going over that. We do see a dip, but we know that a large part of that dip is, and although we absolutely performed well, head and shoulders above the rest of the state, we know that mastery in those 2 new science exams is dragging that number down for us overall. But nonetheless, the use of those benchmark assessments, professional development, staff meetings, looking at where students did well, didn't do well over time, and bringing that into faculty and department meetings is going to help. And our teachers having a year of experience understanding what the state put forth as opposed to what the state said they were going to put forth moving into the next school year.
So, Jerry, if you took out the 2, I know you have the star on the bottom, with the Regents exams for biology, earth, and space science, and the change in living, what would that have done to your score?
You know, we do have that. I know
I'm just
Alan.
curious,
I know
'cause
Alan calculated that.
You know, not to push
Yeah,
you,
no,
but
no, it's
I'm
okay.
sure that would change the
It
score
might be in
significantly.
the fall presentation. Do you have that somewhere? I know you shared it with me. I don't know if we.
I don't mean to disrupt, but
No, that's
I know
okay.
there's going to be a big gap difference if you took those
Yeah.
2 tests out.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have it tonight,
That's
we'll
fine.
put
I
it in a
just think
Friday
that-
update and share that with you.
You know, I
Yeah.
almost would like, in the future, Jerry, you could almost carry that one down, mastery score, and put down the exceptions on those Regents exams. I'd be curious to see what that would do toward your 47.
Sure, sure.
Because we all know, I think at this point, we all know what happened.
Future ready profile of a
Yep.
graduate. So as I mentioned, a lot of the work last year was developing the plan for how students are going to capture their growth in those soft skills, the portrait of a graduate, communication, resilience, empathy, those types of items which are listed there. So that is underway, and our ninth graders have built the platform. And I know we mentioned last time too, the students came to Curriculum Council, spoke very eloquently about how they were reflecting on growing those skills and placing them into the Canva website, which is capturing their growth. So I'm not sure, let's see, 25, 26. When am I going to have my first data set, Alan? So 25, 26? So it's going to be 28, 29 before we have sort of the percentage of kids that were successful in completing that, but, all right.
Okay.
Special education graduation outcomes overall, always very proud of our special education teachers, leadership team, and most of all our students in special education and our students in general education who always support our special ed students. But overall, 96% of students met the goal of either transitioning out of high school into college, into employment, or into the appropriate supportive setting for students along the way. So great data, good work by our team. Just, I won't read them all, a few additional strategies to support their continued success. A new partnership with the Stony Brook's Care. We continue to train anybody that needs it that hasn't already been trained to be a registered behavior technician. The transitional job shadowing experiences. So I come to one more. My last one on a strategic plan is a living document. I'm very grateful for the work of the Ad Hoc Artificial Intelligence Committee. What a great group. Lots of knowledge and leadership in education or in the field. And they used the Brookings study that was noted in the paper a few, maybe about a month or so now ago. And it had three sort of target areas: prepare students, protect students, and prosper. So we went through some data, brainstormed, had lots of bulleted targets, and kind of got it down to 5 manageable, broad goals for the school district under those 3 headings. But when we come back to strategic plan, those 3 items could easily fit under whole child or could fit under enhanced graduation outcomes as we move forward as a school district. And they're really very important goals for us to pursue. I am hoping to survey just at the high school students, faculty, and parents using a set of survey questions that I did not developed by a more expert group than me, which would be the AP College Board. So their questions, which I had Mr. Lockhart shared with us, were great, and it gave a good picture of how are students saying they're using it, what do teachers believe, and what do parents believe. So it'd be good to look at that as a school district in advance of developing specific goals to support those broad outcomes. So hopefully we get that out there, and hopefully can get, I know I can find a time for the students to take it. I know faculty will take it, but can I get our families to take a few minutes to take it? So that'll be some work to do later on this
Maybe
school
ask
year.
AI what percentage of parents you think will actually fill it
Oh,
out.
I'm just
When
gonna
you put the
ask
questions
Claude,
in, why don't you ask
how
Claude,
can I
see
get
what it
more
says?
parents involved in taking the
Right?
survey?
How many minutes would it take? What would the outcomes be? No, but I think it's great that you're doing that, Jerry.
Maintaining high-quality programs. These are all some photos from this school year, whether it's the success of the boys soccer team, the PBA marching band coming in and giving lessons to students, the play in the fall, instruction in Miss Lavonic's classroom. High-quality programs. So by 2029, 85% will indicate that we continue to offer high-quality programs. So again, I couldn't just ask that question. It's so broad. We asked some more detailed questions. Is it a diverse range of programs? Are they rigorous and challenging? Are the extracurricular offerings of high quality? Do programs prepare students for academic careers? Does the district manage resources effectively in the school district? And again, if you look at the neutral rating, even if I go down to the last one on financial resources, 25% of respondents just didn't really have an answer. They didn't know, or couldn't measure it, or had nothing to comment on that. So, again, that might be more outreach on that particular topic along the way. But generally, and again, it's just 95 from the family. This is generally the data, good feedback from teachers on what the programs are in the school district, whether they're high quality or not. And then our fourth pillar, healthy, safe, and engaging learning spaces. By 2029, a minimum of 90% of district staff on a survey will indicate that all learning spaces are healthy, safe, and engaging. And this was intended really for staff. The staff are here every single day. So the committee kind of said, well, they're here every day. Let them take the survey for it. So the average of all responses, 81% positive, 7% negative, a decent neutral number for those. But they asked a range of questions from security measures, positive and conducive environments for education, classroom layouts and designs, the physical condition of learning spaces, well-maintained and promotes learning, and technology, resources, and learning spaces are up to date and enhance the learning experience. I know Mr. Esposito and Ms. Nitti came a couple weeks back. Probably since this survey, we probably finished the interactive boards, the rollout of the new interactive boards. So maybe the 72% might tick up, and we are in the works for replacing desktop PCs for teachers, and some of them running slow and having some, it's time, for that. So so we're at 81% for that, and hopefully over time those numbers will continue to improve, or stay the same. And the final pillar, communication. Those are just some examples of communication in the school district, the website being redone, the Board of Education's commitment to standing committees, and our commitment to holding committees when we have a need, like the Artificial Intelligence Committee or the Athletic Handbook Committee, so that we ensure that there's opportunities for stakeholders to be involved in decision-making in the school district. More of that. And on communication, overall, the average response rate was 80% positive as effective. So question one was really district level communication. Is it clear? Is it informative? And again, this is 95 responses. I'm gonna take what Dr. Lockhart said, which was, hey, if they didn't answer, it's great. So I'm gonna roll with that. That's why I included the data, the 95 responses. Schools communications, timely communication about child's progress. That's always one that there's always some work to do. It's important for us to get that information to parents as quick as we can when things are going great or not so great. Confined information, and overall feeling well informed for the communication from the school district. So from the 95 parents that responded, positive results for us. Our goal is 90%. That, again, that's aspirational. May never, 9 out of 10 people are fully satisfied with the communication, but having that goal keeps it as on the forefront for us, that how important it is as a school district to keep a focus on excellent and timely communication. And then I'm going to spare, I know I've shared this with the board as backup materials, but these will be posted to the website. These are the year 2 plans in support of the 5 pillars in the school district. Some of them merge with the curriculum council goals that the school district has. Some of them merge with the mental health committee goals. So all of those groups sort of identify goals, and they feed under the pillars as a school district. And effective communication. So
Jerry, as you just think of year 2 and your action plans, right? I think the feedback on your own self, I think you're kind of taking away is, were these done in June, was it? You said June of 2025, these surveys? When were they?
The parent survey was in the spring.
Okay, it was the spring.
Student survey was mid-year, probably January or February or so. So, yeah, it's a good question. So we will always get the quantitative data on a yearly basis. Absenteeism, club participation, how many classes everybody taking, are they doing the ones that are, when do we want to do those again, which would be student sentiment on is instruction engaging, staff sentiment on healthy and safe engaging learning, experiences. So, I wasn't sure. I did think about that question. Am I going to do it? Is it better that I do it now, or am I better off doing it in the fall of next year, in October or November, along the way? So
I don't know the right
just
answer,
don't
but I
have
was
the,
just curious if anyone
just
had
don't
any
have the
opinions.
answer. Nobody wants to take surveys.
No,
So-
they don't. That's
So I
part
don't
of the
want to
challenge.
overwhelm people, and they
Right.
sort of lose their.
But we obviously know the impact of them. They're helpful, right? They give you genuine sense of
Yes, they give us
where
a
we are,
sense
what
of,
we're doing, if it's right or not.
yeah.
And you need that, right? So I'm glad you do them, Jerry. I was just curious if you had any opinions on your own timing of when you're thinking of it. That's
Well,
all.
I'll take any. I'm happy
No,
to
I'm
take
just asking.
any
That's
thoughts
fine.
on what.
Tuesdays.
Mhm.
Why Tuesdays?
Just high response rates on Tuesday.
Really?
So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna use Tuesday.
Tuesdays.
The easy one to do would be speak with the high school and middle school administration about having students answer a survey, what the timing of that would be, when do they think it's valuable to give up some classroom time for students to take that? It may be post-AP exams, at the high school. It could be.
Could it be done during their home base, Jerry,
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah,
Or-
I think, that's their time.
Yeah, I know.
Home base is there, they told me the home base is my time. So I think last time we carved a little bit of time out of social studies for students for better or for worse, for students, because home base was their time to reflect. Some of them went to get something to eat. That's their lunch period in many cases, so their feedback was, well, you could do home base, but you're not gonna get the response rate that you're looking for, so.
So since Ray is here, not to put you on the spot, when would you ever want to do a survey in school? Just curious. Do you have any opinions on this, of providing information back to the school, surveying?
Home base. I mean, I don't have any free periods, so just home base in general.
Home base, there you go, Jerry. So maybe,
Right, but that is his only free period, so he would be doing it on his time,
true.
so.
Okay.
Well,
I
I'll give
appreciate
it
the
some thought.
feedback. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that question some thought and come back and let you know what
Okay.
kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, it's the
but-
families, it's the family participation rate that we're all
Well, I
wondering
wouldn't be
about.
burdening the families, nobody took it last time, so it shouldn't be a bother, it shouldn't be a bother. Thank you to the 95 that took it, don't take that the wrong way.
Right, exactly.
But for the rest that might get involved, so. Anyway, I appreciate,
All right, thank you,
I
Jerry.
appreciate coming up. And I want to thank that committee from a couple of years back. They were very thoughtful
Mm-hmm.
and about what should we be looking at to make sure we keep what we have that's so precious here. So, and I appreciate the feedback from you and from all the people that,
100%.
yeah, all right.
Thanks for
Just
sharing.
one question I would love to ask, our stakeholders is, especially as we're developing students as critical thinkers, what is a question that you wish we would ask? Just an opportunity for students especially to give a short response if needed. We might, who knows how many of those we'd collect, but I'm really curious to know.
What's your
we-
question?
yeah.
What is the question that you have?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I ended with the student focus groups, because we had a long
Right,
conversation, and my
yeah.
last question was, if I'm gonna leave here, what are the one or two things you would want me to tell the instructional staff?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of let them take the whole conversation and say, this is what you should be telling them, so.
Yeah, I love that, and I think memorializing that in a way, enabling students who might not be part of that focus group, or
Yeah, yeah.
who might not speak out, to have that similar opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right.
Okay, next up, under our reports and reviews, we have our 2026, 2027 budget presentation by Mr. Glenn Arcuri. Thank you, Glenn. Yes.
Mr. Arcuri, I apologize, while we're waiting.
Sure.
I do have to leave at 8:45, no pressure, but I just, when
I'll
I,
make you a deal.
when
No
I.
questions, I'll be done by 8:45. How's
Okay.
that?
But if you're not,
I have to leave at 8:35.
if you're not,
Do I hear
I don't
8:25?
want you to take it personally, okay?
No worries. You
Okay.
do know this is two presentations on one evening, right?
Yes.
February
I do.
24th and March
We
10th.
believe in you, Mr.
So I
Arcuri.
do,
You can
so
do
I
it.
do apologize
I do.
in advance. As Mr. Poole mentioned earlier, Tonight's budget presentation is a culmination of a lot of different meetings. A lot of credit goes to the building principals, building district directors, coordinators, who have spoken to their staff, identified the needs, and then Mr. Poole and his central office team, myself, Mr. Haywood, Mr. Meinster, Mrs. Reed, we all go through the budget, note by note, line by line. So a lot of effort goes into it, but it is a culmination of the needs of many throughout the district. It is important to understand the goal of the budget is to educate the whole student in a safe and nurturing environment while ensuring that the educational goals contained in the district strategic plan remain fiscally responsible to the community. So diving in quickly now that I'm on a 10-minute time frame. The 26-27 budget has a 0.80% year-to-year increase, presents a 2.84% levy, maintains all current programs, reflects cost efficiencies and operational economies through a multi-layered review process, includes strategic position reductions. I'll go into that in a couple of slides later. Reduces reliance on fund balance, which is a 22% reduction. Continues the application of district reserve funds and reduces contingency funds within the budget. And it also moves out of the maintenance section into the transfer to capital section, a $250,000 maintenance project. This is an important note as we were able to increase the tax levy by this capital exclusion. As Mr. Poole mentioned earlier, the 26-27 budget aligns with the 5 pillars of the strategic plan. A quick district snapshot from 2024-25 data. 1,933 students. Demographics are 80% Caucasian, 1% African American, 14% Hispanic, and 2% Asian. It is important to note the special education population is almost 1/5 of the district, so it's an 18% piece of our district. The English language learners are 1%, and the economically disadvantaged is at 6%. World-class opportunities. They are opportunities within our district that go above the K-12 New York State required program. This is what all that above and beyond that separates us maybe from other communities. But you could see by the volume of opportunities, these all cost additional funding. These all cost additional dollars, additional time, and they are not mandated. So if it ever came to a point where, well, why is there a middle school greenhouse program? Do we have to have a middle school greenhouse program? Do we have to have a unified athletic program? According to the state, we don't, but it is important to note that's what makes our program the way that it does. So we do have extensive opportunities, but it does come with a dollar figure. Continuous investment in student health and well-being. Nurses, we have 2 nurses at the high school and middle school. There are 3 nurses combined between the 2 elementary buildings. Again, that gives us 3 additional nurses. So we continue to go above and beyond whatever the minimum is required, but that continues to provide that health and safe, engaging learning environment that our kids as well as our community has come accustomed to. Mental health services, 5 school counselors, 2 social workers, 6 psychologists, and 1 on-staff behaviorist. We are moving away from contractual services for a behaviorist. And by making a district position at the same cost that we were paying for 0.5 of a week, meaning half of the week, we could hire an in-house person and get double the amount of services, build that relationship throughout the district so that they are part of our mental health team. Relationship with North Shore Youth Council and 2 athletic trainers, one at the high school, one at the middle school. And as Mr. Poole mentioned earlier, a new partnership with Stony Brook Cares, and that provides clinical assessment of your child's needs, short-term treatment services, and a potential referral to longer-term treatment if clinically needed. Outstanding achievements. This is a slide Mr. Poole presents on many different occasions, but again, it is a testament to the district staff, the district students, the parents. There is no one single person that helps the district accomplish these outstanding achievements. It is the work of many in order to accomplish all that is listed here. Great community support the past 7 years. We average pretty close to an 80% passing rate. The one tiny blip was in 2020, but that was definitely tied to the pandemic voting. Besides that, again, I do consider there is great community support for the budgets the past 7 years. Prudent fiscal management and tax levy info. The past 7 years, again, taking out the one-time item related to a transfer to capital line, gives us a 2.30 year-to-year expenditure increase and a 1.78% tax levy. We could all agree that the cost of living has definitely increased at a pace greater than 2.3% over the past 7 years. So the district continues to provide a robust program without asking for additional funding. As I mentioned earlier, strategic position reductions. We do have savings of about $1.7 million in the 26-27 budget. It is important to note, majority of these savings comes from retirements and comes from positions where we feel they are no longer needed. Assistant Director of Technology position. This was a position established a couple of years back in order to provide a training opportunity for an internal candidate to learn the system. And with the retirement of our Director of Technology, the Assistant Director met the qualifications, was the successful candidate. So they will be taking over the Director of Technology position and allowing the district to eliminate a Assistant Director of Technology. One clerical position that will be take place out of the high school. 3 monitor positions at middle school, Wading River, and the high school. We're gonna be doing a change. We're going to be taking one of the unarmed guards, putting them inside of the visitors booth, meaning that entry booth, and they're going to be issuing the visitor badges, buzzing people in, buzzing people out. This is affording us the opportunity because we now have an armed guard inside of the parking lots at those 3 facilities, at those 3 locations. So again, trying to do more with less. Having the eyes out inside the parking lot allows us to bring that person inside, and so there's a little bit of economies and efficiencies there. 3 teaching assistant positions in order to, we are going to go with less hours inside of the classrooms. So it isn't that they're going to be eliminated, just certain classrooms are going to have less time with the TAs. And as far as The 6 teaching positions, they are all through retirements. And as you could see, based on high school enrollment going down 105 students, there is definitely room inside of the schedule that Mr. Pliesi is able to provide this same level of programming, very similar class size, without having to fill these positions. Truth be told, without these savings here, the 26-27 budget would be remarkably different. This has helped us deliver a 26-27 budget with very minimal program impact, without program reductions. When it comes to the federal grants, again, it's something just to quickly point out inside of the news. It changes daily. Are they supporting education, not supporting education? The 2 most important grants here pertain to the 611 and 619 grants. Majority of that funding pertains to staff salaries related to special education services. So if they were to eliminate, which we have not heard, but if they were to eliminate the 611 grant, we would definitely have an impact. The district would probably have to come to the Board of Education if that were to occur and say, listen, we need to pay for those staff, and we need to take funds out of the 4% unassigned, unappropriated fund balance in order to cover that cost. When it comes to district reserves, I did a quick presentation on January 6th, but just to go into a little bit more detail here, I show you the history for 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, and 25, 26. You could see the application of reserves has gone down slightly. We are using the same amount of ERS, same amount of TRS, same amount of unemployment, and the same amount as debt service. We were able to decrease the use of workers' compensation reserve. The actual annual expenditure has been coming in less, so we have opted to apply less, since you're only able to utilize the amount of reserve dollars that you actually spend in that given year. And as far as using employee benefits accrued liability reserve or the 2021 capital reserve, there isn't any proposition on the ballot for the capital reserve, and spending the funds out of the employee benefits accrued liability reserve, we typically bring a resolution to the Board of Education sometime the end of May, beginning of June, when our full separation payments have been calculated and what we are able to fund out of that reserve. We then do ask you to approve the use of those funds. The tax levy limit calculation, again, we are not looking to pierce. This is a simple majority vote. We are looking at a 2.8430% increase, or $1,708,086. The calculation includes all of the identified approved pilot payments that the district anticipates receiving. The pilot payment related to the potential battery storage facility has not been finalized, so that pilot payment is not included in this year's tax levy limit calculation. And it's also important to note, as the district is still considering a second energy performance contract, since that is not finalized, that debt service payment would not come into play until 27-28 if an energy performance contract is finalized. So that too is not part of the calculation. And as far as building aid goes, the building aid for the district as part of the calculation is based on the governor's executive run as of January 20th, 2026. It is possible that that value will change when her final budget is adopted. And if it does impact the tax levy, we will refile the calculation with the comptroller's office.
Good luck to you.
As far as going into the detail, does anyone have any questions on the details with this? In an effort to save time, I'm just going to point out the quick highlights. The tax levy limit before exclusions is 4.833%. Our allowable growth factor per the comptroller's office is 2%. It's always important to point out, when they say we have a 2% tax levy, that only pertains to the second line from the bottom that has the red asterisk. That is the value that the state gives us. Everything else is variable. So when we get to this point, it's a 2% levy limit. However, for us, it's 0.4833, and then when we add the exclusions to it, we actually come up with a 2.8430% levy. Anyone have any questions on the tax levy? Moving on to Proposition 1, 26-27 budget. Maintains all programs that are aligned to the strategic plan, includes funding to support contractual increases related to salaries, insurance, technology licenses and subscriptions, special education service providers, utilities. As I mentioned earlier, includes a transfer to capital fund line to cover the cost of maintenance. The plan right now is to do the Miller Avenue parking lot. It is possible that if I'm unable to schedule them in between when BOCES is using that building, and due to the winter damage to the Wading River parking lot, they're similar in cost. We may actually switch to the Wading River parking lot, as we're identifying a lot more cracks this past winter as the snow is melting. Mr. Rossini and I were out there earlier this week, and it's possible that the location may shift, but that doesn't impact how I'm actually funding it. Reflects reductions of contingent funds where prudent. I continually have been stating, wherever there are contingent funds, they've always been there for strategic flexibility. Well, the more contingent funds that we cut out, the less flexibility the district has in delivering variables to the spending plan inside of that budget year. So it's just something to keep inside the back of your mind, where people may hear no a little bit more frequently than they have in years past. As in years past, reserve funds have been applied to the revenue budget, and there's a decreased use of appropriated fund balance. Proposed budget, as I stated earlier, is 0.80%, or $710,660 increase. Tonight, as I had mentioned earlier, this is a combined 2 meetings. It is very rare that we're covering 92.97% of the budget inside of a single meeting, but thanks to a blizzard, it was unavoidable. Tonight, we're going to cover employee salaries, which is 44%, almost 44% of the budget. Employee benefits, which is 28.14% of the budget. Transportation, 7.65% of the budget. District-wide expenses, 4.77% of the budget. Debt and transfers, 4.52% of the budget. And facilities, 3.91% of the budget. I thought this was a great addition that someone came up with, was to see that chart inside of a pie format. So if you look at the sections that have the red check mark, that's how much we are going to cover tonight. We're going to cover almost 98% of the budget. So you can see the areas. The big blue area, that is salaries. The orange area is employee benefits. You add the two of those together, you have more than almost 3/4. So just thought it was a great opportunity to show it differently. Employee salaries. Salaries for all district staff are included in this category. Salaries are forecast based on contractual obligations outlined in collective bargaining agreements. As far as the administrative unit, their contract is up June 30th, 2026. Their contract does not have steps in it. So as of July 1st, unless if there is a unit member eligible to receive longevity, that they are eligible July 1st, no SWERA member, if there's not a new contract, receive any contractual increase as of July 1st. As far as the SWERA agreement that was recently approved back in January, that agreement runs through June 30th, 2027. All unit members that are not on top step will receive an increase of at least 4.75%, and unit members at top step will receive an increase of at least 1.75%. It's important to point out that I'm saying at least, because if anyone, inside of the SWRTR salary schedule, you have different columns. So depending upon your credits, you have the ability to move a column. If a SWRTR member moves a column, they will then receive approximately an additional 3% more than the 4.75 if they are not at top step. And if they are at top step and they actually move over a column, they will actually receive almost 4.75%. So that is in place through the 26-27 budget. And the CSEA agreement runs through June 30th, 2026. The previous agreement for CSEA added 5 steps to their contract. However, we're only in year 4 of those, we added 8 steps to that. We're only in the 5th year of that contract. So all unit members, if we don't come to a new contract by July 1st, will receive approximately a 2% increase because their steps have a 2% change. So if there is a new contract in place before July 1st, the increase will be greater than the 2%, but different than the SWRA unit, CSEA does have steps inside their contract, so people as of July 1st will at the minimum receive a 2% increase. All contractual salary budgets are developed each year to align with the instructional program. So we do a zero-based budget when it comes to staffing. Between Mr. Hayward, Mr. Meinster, and all of the building principals, identify the number of sections, number of specials, number of FTEs needed, and then we build a staffing budget from that. So in that regard, since that's the largest part of the budget and it drives the benefit portion, it is always important to focus on making certain that that is well thought out. And this year, we continually get tighter when it comes to contingent positions. So we're getting tighter and tighter as to the flexibility. There's 1 or 2 contingent bodies inside of the budget for possibly a special education section or possibly an additional ELL section. But besides that, we are definitely tight. If an extreme circumstance occurs where 10 more families move into the district requiring additional special education needs, there will be the possibility of asking the Board of Education to tap into that 4% value. It is in an extreme circumstance that we will go there, but I just want to point it out as we go through the budget process. And all non-contractual salary codes have been reviewed and adjusted accordingly. Any questions on employee salaries? As far as employee benefits go, the teacher's retirement system contribution rate has actually decreased from the previous year. It was a little bit less than 10% in 25-26, and now it's down to 8.75. Employees' retirement system has increased a little bit, about 6.67%. Again, those 2 values are a calculation against salaries for those particular pensionable areas. So depending upon what pension system the staff member's in, we take their earned salary for the year, multiply that by that percentage. That's how we come up with how much a district has to pay in pension costs. We anticipate health premiums to increase. The average has been around a little about 9%. In previous years, we have had 12% because we always hear in our December meeting with NISHIP, oh, well, they're running out of reserves and they're going to have to spend this and they're going to spend this because now they're going to a pill form versus an injection form. That was the big talk this year, that they expect additional claims to come in. But this year we chose to come in at a 10% increase, so we're definitely tighter. If they do decide to go higher than 10, we're going to count on other margin inside of the budget in order to cover that. All benefit codes are reviewed, and they were projected either based on historical average and information provided by the district's third-party representatives. That goes for your dental, your optical, dental, disability, life insurance, et cetera. Any question on benefits? The transportation budget, nothing's changed in the transportation budget. We are still providing full transportation for all of our programs. The 3% increase that is outlined in the second year of our RFP, the budget has been adjusted for. However, you do see a dollar decrease. You see the decrease because we have cut out yet another contingent monitors and another contingent minibus. We are, again, continue to go tighter and tighter in order to balance the budget. So again, in the extreme circumstance where a transportation need arises that we do not plan for, we may ask for help throughout the year. We don't anticipate that. And as far as private and parochial placement, there are 9 private and parochial schools within our transportation limit. We have budgeted 3 because we are only using 3 buses, three minivans this year. As of today, only 1 family has requested transportation. They have until April 1st. If for some reason we get a rush and now there's six before April 1st, I will definitely be standing up here and saying I need to increase the budget because we have knowledge before we adopted the budget for those additional minivans. Hopefully that will not be the case. District-wide expenses, these are the budget codes that provide all of those world-class opportunities. That's where the funding for these live. In addition, services that are not building-specific, Board of Education, auditing service, legal and fiscal agent fees, on the instructional side, your equipment, your textbooks, supplies and materials, et cetera. There were some reductions inside of a few areas. One-time equipment purchases, BOCE services, supplies and materials, textbooks, travel and conference. Funding has been increased to support. Liability insurance continues to rise. We are no different than a homeowner's policy because of the catastrophes around the world, be it wildfires, floods, and so on and so forth. We continue to feel the pinch of what's called a reinsurance market. So we're looking at a 13% increase for liability insurance, and cyber insurance every year continues. The risk continues to get greater and greater, but it's still in the district's best interest to keep the insurance present. Charter school tuition, we did see an uptick. We went from 1 student to 3. I had 1 student budget in 25-26, so we did have to adjust the budget for 26-27. Regarding professional fees, we did have to increase legal fees. There's been a tremendous additional cost, whether it's been related to FOILs, whether it's been related to researching the IDA to ensure that a possible pilot payment comes in fair to the district, whether it has to do with employee matters. We definitely had to increase the 26-27 legal fee budget. And with the new voting process for 26-27, where the district has to provide its own voting machines and its own oversight, its own maintenance, the district did have to add additional funding in order to support that. What used to be handled by Suffolk County now is a burden to the district. Any question on district-wide expenses? I'm desperately trying to make the clock. I'm trying. If there's no questions, I'll keep
I don't
going.
think you will.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Arcuri.
I tried. I went as
apologize that
fast as I
have to
could
leave
talk.
right now. No, thank you.
No
It's
worries,
great
I
so far.
apologize. But if you have any questions on anything after it, you're welcome to call.
I appreciate it.
No worries. As far as debt and transfers go, tax anticipatory notes, again, we may have to borrow. We don't begin receiving our tax levy funding until December. State aid doesn't start coming in until December, but yet we have to operate a district. As a district draws down on reserve balances and capital reserve funding, the district may have to go out to borrow money. The annual bond payment is included in this section. Final payment June 15, 2032. the principal and interest payment related to the energy performance contract that ends June 15, 2031. And as I mentioned earlier, this possibility of a second energy performance contract has not been included because the payment wouldn't be due until 27-28. Transfer to capital fund line has been moved to this section. So you see an increase of $253,000 here. $245,000 of the 253 is a reduction you're going to see inside the next section out of the facilities budget moved into this section here. Transfer to cafeteria budget line is part of this section, as well as transfer to the special aid fund. Any question on debt and transfers? Okay, facilities. Overall, the facilities budget decreased. However, as I mentioned before, $245,000 was reclassed to debt and transfers. So in actuality, this budget increased by $180,000. Majority of that increase lives inside the utilities codes. And there's been a decrease related to outside technical assistance. We're going to continually keep pinching the need for outside consultants to help us inside of certain areas. And as far as maintenance projects, public address speakers inside the bathrooms and locker rooms at the Wading River School, Prodell Middle School, and the high school, and buildings and grounds improvements, irrigation repairs, tree pruning, asphalt repairs in certain locations. Any questions on facilities? In summary, the expenditure budget increased $710,660, or 0.80%. As I have mentioned before, tax levy goes up 2.8430%. As far as state aid goes, again, based on the executive run provided January 20th, we're looking at a 2.36% increase. Other local revenue, typically made up of pilot payments, tuition payments, has a slight increase of 0.03%. And as previously mentioned, you see a decreased reliance on appropriated fund balance by 22%. You see the consistent use of reserves between ERS, TRS, unemployment reserve, and the debt service fund. And you see that decrease that I mentioned before about workers' compensation. On March 24th, we're going to cover special education, technology. We're basically going to cover the remaining 8% of the budget at the March 24th meeting. And then April 14th, we will cover revenue. By that time, hopefully the state would have adopted their budget, so we would have final revenue numbers. If for some reason the state gives us additional aid, we will typically reduce the appropriated fund balance value. Or if they come in with less, then we will increase the appropriated fund balance. That's typically this a swing revenue source. And April 21st, the Board of Education adopts the budget. We're going to jump to Proposition 2. Proposition 2 pertains to dedicating or conveying land to the town of Brookhaven. So in October, Brookhaven Town Superintendent of Highways, Mr. Lasquadro, came and presented a roadway improvement project on Randall Road. And if the district is willing to donate a little bit less than 4,400 square feet of property, the district would get great benefit to the entryway at the middle school. I'm going to jump to the pictures. The draft proposition language is here. I'm going to jump to the pictures to show you what we're looking at. This is our existing site. He's looking to add a traffic light. He's looking to add a turning lane. So everything you see there inside of that light gray, the town of Brookhaven would do the work for us. In exchange, we would have to give up, if you look, let me find a better picture. If you look on the bottom right, maybe if I go back one. If you look on the pointer work, nope. If you look on the top right, you see the sign is there in the corner. They're going to be taking some of that wooded area in order to expand the roadway both west. That's what's going to create the turning lane on our western property that we are giving up. And it is unused property for us. What the district has to do in order to allow this to occur, the district has to relocate the sign. We're gonna push it in a little bit further west. And it's gonna make it a little bit more difficult to see it if you're traveling north. But if you're traveling south, you'll be able to see the sign just as clear as you see it today. The benefits of this improvement project definitely makes the front entrance safer, definitely provides for that turning lane, which will make the flow of traffic easier, and it'll definitely make having that traffic light a lot easier for us when we're trying to get the buses to come out of the parking lot. We will have the control of being able to program that particular light. And as it was explained to us, that light will be programmed at the pace of traffic. So if someone's going above the speed limit and they see it and they sense it, the light's gonna go directly to yellow. It's gonna
Mr.
go
Curie-
directly to red.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Sure.
apologize. Can you remind me, do the walkers have a constant flow of sidewalk there? and
The
into-
walkers have a sidewalk to the north of our property. They do not have a sidewalk to south of our property.
And then how about onto the property?
They do. They have a walkway that's on our
Continuous?
north side of our entrance. It tucks in a little bit to the right, behind the tree line there. There is an asphalt walkway, goes all the way up to a section where they could cross, typically where there is a unarmed guard there, and that's where the crossing occurs.
Okay, so then does are they encouraged to then take that walkway and then take the sidewalk?
They are encouraged to, if they're walking north,
Yeah.
they are encouraged, you could, if I had the pointer here, I could point it for you, but I don't. You could see the walkway there.
Yeah,
And that will directly tie into our walkway that is currently there.
okay.
The sidewalk that is currently there today ties into our walkway that is also there. So this will be Proposition 2. The Board of Education does not have the legal authority to give away property, so it must be voted on by the public, and if there is support for it, they are ready to do this work this summer. Now, as far as Proposition 3 goes, I still do not have final information that this is going to be a valid proposition for us. What this pertains to is the Wading River Historical Society and Museum presented the Board of Education with a petition that was signed by more than the number of required signatures needed in order to ask to have $40,000 included as part of our tax levy process in order to get funding directly back to them. Now, the Education Law 259 allows for this. However, there's one requirement that we are still continually waiting on, is that confirmation that the organization is chartered by the Board of Regents. To date, we have not received that. And without that, the Board of Education is not required to put it on the ballot. So as I wait additional information, I will continue to provide it for you. However, I did want to include it so that if it does turn out that they meet all the qualifications, there would be a Proposition 3, and the proposition language is nicely there in font 6. As Mr. Poole said, you could see it from home, but it's very hard to put it on 3 different slides for you. I will not be reading this one yet until I know it's a guaranteed proposition. But it's definitely something that we have to keep on our radar, and I'm certain by March 24th, we'll have additional information for you.
Is the Historical Society suggesting they are chartered by the Board of Regents?
They are not, they have not told us that they are. They told us that they're in the process of getting it. Now, will they have it in time to get it on the ballot? It's another question. The Board of Education has to adopt their ballot, meaning what's going to be on the May ballot. I believe at the first board meeting in April, the latest, I think. Ms. Kirschus would have that date with her. But I don't know if they're going to have it in time.
I don't know.
There is, the district does have the Board of Education has flexibility without that charter to put it on there, but they're not required to. And there is the risk of it being challenged if the Board of Education went down that path. At least that's what
Challenged by
council
who?
has advised us.
That's a good
Challenged by
question.
who?
It's a great question, challenged by a taxpayer, I would assume, but I could further clarify that with council if that is a request.
Okay.
And anyone that wants to see any additional budget information from previous years or from this year, right on the district website, there is a section, and you're able to have access to any of the history. Any questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curie.
Yep.
Okay, next up is our votes and resolutions. First is our approval of our January 2026 Treasurers Report. May I get a motion? Jim, second. Mike, thank you. Any discussion or questions on the Treasurers Report? All in favor? 5-0. Next up is the approval of our CPSE, CSE, and 504 meeting summary memo dated February 11th, 2026. May I get a motion? Jim, second. Megan. Any discussion or questions on this? All in favor? 5-0. I've got two Board of Education resolutions, 2526116 and 2526117. May I get a motion, please? Jim, second. Mike. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0.
How quickly does the calendar get posted to the website? I know a community member had asked us to release it.
Tomorrow,
Okay.
we'll get that out on the, posted at this, everybody will, yeah.
Thanks.
Terrific. Moving on, curriculum and instruction resolutions. We have two of these, 2526118 and 2526119. May I get a motion, please? Jim, second. Mike. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. Next up, we have our human resource resolution. There's one, 2526120. May I get a motion, please? Megan, second. Henry. Any discussion or questions? All in favor? 5-0. Next up are business and operations resolutions. I have 6 of these. Okay to take them as a block, 2526121 through 2526126.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. These are mostly, I think, Jerry, you had mentioned, these are both mostly change orders, right? The majority of these.
Right, unused allowances, credits coming back to the school district.
Okay, terrific, thank you. May I get a motion, please? Jim, second. Henry. Any discussion or questions on these? You have a question, Mike?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry. All in favor? 5-0. Next up, personnel. May I get a motion for tonight's personnel? Megan, second. Henry. Any discussion or questions on the personnel agenda? Nope, okay, all in favor? 5-0. Mr. Hayward, would you like to do the update on communications, please?
Three Board of Education seats are open for the term July 1st, 2026 through July 30th, 2029. Board of Election candidate packets are available in the district office. Candidate packets need to be signed for when they are picked up. The last date to submit a candidate packet is Monday, April 20th, 2026 by 4 p.m. to the district clerk.
Thank you. Any other discussion from the board? Okay. Any additional comments from residents? Okay, take that as a no. May I get a motion to adjourn
I
tonight?
had, someone had messaged me because they couldn't email the SWR BOE email address.
Really?
Can I ask that question, or how does that work?
Did they send it to the BOE, or did they send it to the BOE inbox tonight?
Well, you can read it,
Yeah, let's see what it
they
says.
can answer, not answer, answer at a later date.
You want to read it out loud then?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So what classrooms are affected by the reduction in teaching assistant hours? Does it affect special education classrooms, and if so, in what buildings? And then the next question is, with the reduction of one reading teacher due to retirement, how can that affect the strategic plan goals to increase reading proficiency? How can we align to the goal with one less teacher providing reader support?
Good questions.
If it's
Yeah.
okay, I think.
Yeah, would you mind, how do you want to?
Good question, so when we come back to the next budget presentation, we'll be sure to
Okay.
weave in the
Those
answers to those
answers.
questions to the
Okay.
at the next board meeting in the budget presentation.
That sounds
Great.
good. Let's get that out there, Jim, for all of us to say, right? Well,
Yeah,
let's-
sure.
That'd be great. Thank you for the resident who did that. We'll check a look at why the email address isn't receiving email. I'll try it again as well. That's interesting. Thank you, Jim. Any other comments? Okay. May I get a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting? Jim, second Mike. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.